Hi everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is Sm1tty Sm1t, and you, my lucky fans, are getting 2 video reviews in 2 days. And today, what we're taking a look at is Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, which, let's admit, is an awful, awful name. Okay, it's too much of a mouthful, but the game itself is fantastic. I was very surprised. I want to say a veteran of the Metal Gear series, but nothing recently. So I've played all the old stuff, and what I found, first off, is that the writers, they throw out some unintentional, I would assume intentional nods towards some of the older games in the series, and one in particular is the cardboard box. We all know what the cardboard box is if you're familiar with Metal Gear games. And there's an achievement if you can kill all of the bad guys that you find hiding in the cardboard boxes littered throughout the game. So that's kind of nice, okay? But first things first, let's talk about the visuals. The game is a beautiful game, and I hate to make a second Bukkake reference in the second video that I'm recording here today, but Blood Bukkake is really the only way to explain this. You play as Raiden, and what you're going to be doing is you're slicing off limbs, you're cutting off heads, you're cutting people into pieces, and as you're doing this, blood is getting splattered everywhere. It's absolutely disgusting. I feel like I need to have a ShamWow with me at all times because it gets all over you, okay? This futuristic type world where you're a cyborg or half cyborg, cybernetic limbs and things like that, where you're fighting against other cyborgs and you're going to be cutting them in half, cutting off limbs, and then reaching into their body and pulling out their spine in order to absorb some of their essence, and that will refill some of your health and things like that. Just seeing that all go down is just a visual marvel. It's beautiful to watch, and there's going to be times when you can go from one person to another person to another person, and you stream together all of these spinal stab and grab, is I guess what they've called it, where you pull this stuff out one after another after another. And the foot soldiers, which are the easiest guys, you go into the, I guess it's Zandatsu mode, where it shows you particularly where to cut them in order to reach in and pull out the stuff. You can do one cut with your sword, one precision cut, and cut through like 3 or 4 guys at once, and then just reach in one after another and recharge yourself basically from 0 to full health. And that's a neat little implement that they add, because you are deadly with this sword. I mean, absolutely unstoppable. Now, I played the game on easy, so what you're seeing here is some of the easier stuff, and I'm glad that I did, because one of the issues is that the game is grossly harder on some of the higher difficulty settings. If you're playing on normal, or heaven forbid you hop in on Revengeance mode, the boss battles in particular have, even on easy, just this unbelievable difficulty spike. Boss battles are your typical boss battles where you have to figure out which pattern that they have, wait for a particular moment to strike, and then strike over and over and over again. The boss battles, I actually reached out to find out whether or not they were outsourced or not, because the boss battles are perhaps the worst part of the combat in the game, just because they're so tedious. But if you get past the boss battles, the cutscenes that usually follow are very rewarding. And if you're familiar with previous Metal Gear games, you know that the cutscenes can last a little while. From start to finish, my campaign took about 10 hours. But I watched all of the cutscenes, listened to all of the stuff that I needed to listen to. So if you're skipping all that stuff, you can probably cut out an hour, maybe more, because there really is a lot. To put it in perspective, the last boss battle, which is an absolute pain in the ass, and I am not pleased with it at all. But the last boss battle, including all the cutscenes, took me over an hour to finish last night. And again, I played it on easy, and there were even times when I was confused as to what I should be doing and why it got so hard. See, the biggest issue is they throw in these fail states. These things where you're supposed to lose, but you don't know you're supposed to lose, so you think the game is just being unfair and ridiculous, but right before you're about to die, something happens, and you realize, oh, that was supposed to happen. My biggest gripe is if something is supposed to happen, if something is based on me losing, why not wrap it up in the cutscene? I mean, you've got a cutscene that's lasted 8 or 10 minutes already. What's another 30 or 40 seconds, okay? Don't throw me in and have me battle with an expectation that I'm going to win, because again, easy mode. Don't do that and then have me lose and have me sitting here confused as to whether or not this is supposed to be happening. Overall, though, I am really pleased with the game. They don't have as much stealth in the game as I would have liked. You can go stealthily from one point to another, and if you're undetected and you attack an enemy, usually it's a one-hit kill. Even some of the really big enemies, but that's rare because on the easy setting. Maybe this is different in later levels on the higher difficulties, but on easy, you can pretty much handle anything that the game throws at you, with the exception of the boss fights, where you really have to be precise in your movements and understand what they're doing and why you're going to counter it, things like that. So there are collectibles to pick up, and with the collectibles, you actually you can unlock different things for your character and for your weapons. What you'll see is you'll pick up something that allows +1 to strength on your sword, or you'll pick up something that allows +1 to absorption, where you absorb more electrolytes, I guess is what they are. Or you can find different costumes. Maybe I mentioned that, but there's one where you get a mariachi costume, and as ridiculous as you think it looks, when you're wielding this badass sword and splitting people in two, it looks pretty awesome. Now, as you defeat the bosses, you can also inherit their weapons. So you get this polearm, some size like Raphael from the Ninja Turtles, or I think there's one other one that's not coming to mind. But it's really neat to see how they've implemented all of these little RPG elements in a game that really focuses on combat and makes you feel like you're this invincible cyborg guy. The story is neat. It's metaphorical in the fact that the United States is a bunch of more warmongering sons of bitches, and the corruption goes all the way up through the government and things like that. It's really interesting to see how that plays out. Pakistan's involved, and it really is a metaphor for what's going on right now in the world politically and on the combat front. Especially when you take into consideration the issue we've recently had with the drones, the drone attacks that people are carrying out. There's a lot in terms of cybernetics, unmanned flights, and things like that. There's a lot to do with that in this game. It's a little more subtle, and it's an underlying issue in the grand scheme of things, where you're Raiden trying to be the the apex of goodness. But as expected, the game also pits these man versus himself type elements, where Raiden has to rediscover himself and what he wants to be and how he wants to be a good person versus the person that he has been, and things like that. The guy's going through all these levels, killing just countless civilians is what they are. They're police and some military and things like that, but he's just laying waste, all in the name of I'm doing what's good for the overall positive aspect of the world. And there are a few characters that will help you understand that what you're doing probably isn't the best, but Raiden still carries on with his mission, and come to find out everything is right with the world. So I'll let you guys watch a little bit of the videos that I have here. There's very limited replayability for the game unless you're a hardcore Metal Gear fan. But they do have some VR missions where you can try to get top score and things like that. Certain achievements tied to that. I don't really see myself jumping back in and playing the whole thing over again, though I do expect a new Game Plus mode where all the upgrades that I've already purchased are there, all the new moves, the costumes, and things like that. You never know. For my 24-hour video game event later this year, I might throw this back in. But for the 10 hours that I played it, the combat that I witnessed, and the fact that I can change the difficulty to make it as hard or as easy as I want, I would say the game is definitely a buy. It comes out today on February 19th. It's $60. I'd say go pick it up. Thanks for watching, guys.